Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Leonie, aka Stitching Noni, and as you can see from the title of this video, today's video is not my general update. It's actually a special edition for FlossTube collaboration, which has been organised by Shirl at Tranquil Stitches. I'd like to say thank you to Shirl for giving me the opportunity to do this FlossTube collaboration video. And I'm hoping that everyone will enjoy the three designers that I've chosen. Before I actually get into the collaboration video, I thought I'd do a quick introduction to myself for those people who have not been here before. And I'd like to welcome old and new subscribers to my channel. I hope you do enjoy the videos, and especially this one, and come back and see an update, which hopefully I'll get to record today or tomorrow. But for those of you who are new, as I said, my name is Leonie. I go by the name of Stitching Noni on FlossTube or Instagram and just around the traps. I also have a blog, but I haven't looked at the blog for a little while, so it's not worth going over there just at the moment to look at my stitching. So FlossTube is probably the best place to see my stitching updates, or through the different Facebook groups. I have been stitching for quite a number of years. I started stitching in my 20s, which is way back when. And in those days, as I'm sure a lot of people would know, there wasn't a lot of different designers out at the time, so my stitching was very limited to what I'd see occasionally in some of the magazines or buying kits or something. I did take a break from stitching for probably about 4 or 5 years in the early 2000s, and then I picked it up again, and the rest is history, as they say. And now it's more than just a hobby. It's an obsession, it's a passion, it takes over my life at times, as my husband will probably tell you if you asked him. But anyway, carrying on. My tastes are very different depending on the mood I'm in. I do like all sorts of different designers, and as my whips will show you, that's just some of them that you can see. I have a range of different types of things that I stitch. I'm still stitching on a number of things that I started many years ago because I've got bored with them, but every now and then I'll pull them out and try and do a few more stitches in them with the hope that one day they'll be finished. What else have I got to say? So I do work full-time, so I don't get a lot of stitching time, unfortunately, but I try to make the most of the time that I get. I have 3 fur kids. I have a dog and 2 cats. I've got the door closed, so hopefully we won't have visitors, but sometimes they do come to visit me on my FlossTube channels and my little videos and say hello. But I'm hoping today we'll get through this without too many interruptions. What else was I going to say? That was it. So that's me in a nutshell. So yeah. I try not to go down the rabbit hole today. I will try and stay on script. In fact, I've written notes to try and stay on script. So I apologise now if you see me looking across to the side. It's just I needed to have them to keep me, to make sure I didn't forget what I wanted to say. So back on track. And so I would just like to say thank you to Shirl again for letting me be part of this FlossTube collaboration. So the FlossTube collaboration this time round is a designer spotlight. It's the second time that Shirl's organised the designer spotlight. So the collaboration, Shirl does them on a reasonably regular basis. This one I think is number 4 or number 5 that she's done, and she usually asks 9 or so FlossTubers to join her. She's the host essentially, and she'll get 9 of us FlossTubers to just talk about something. As I mentioned, this time it's designer spotlight number 2. I will have a list of all of the FlossTubers who are joining us in this in the notes below, in the description box, so I'll have links to their channels, so I encourage you to go over and visit them as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone else is showcasing. Shirl will also do a video herself, so make sure you pop over there and she'll give you a bit more information potentially of who else might be involved with it. But I'll have a quick list, and at the end I'll also try and do a bit of a list of who's doing what. What else have I got to say? That's about it, I think. Hopefully I've described what it is, and hopefully I won't let the side down. I did feel really quite honoured to be invited to do this, because I've loved watching the ones of that Shirl's had before, and to actually have the opportunity to do this is just enormous. So I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully this is going to be good. So let's get into it, shall we? And so, as I mentioned, this time round it is another designer spotlight. I didn't know who to choose. Shirl suggested that we choose 3 designers, so I don't know whether sometimes it's harder to choose 3 or choose 1. 3 was tricky because there's so many people that I would like to focus on, and I didn't know whether to focus on designers that I'm currently stitching, designers that are my all-time favourites. But what I thought I'd do is I went to the under the bed box and I had a look to see what have I got that's mostly finished, because it's nice to see finishes for these things, and what have I got in my stash that would give me something to talk about, in the sense that it'll make it more interesting for you hopefully to watch. So my choice of designers are a very well-known one, a reasonably well-known one and probably is becoming quite popular now, and a extremely unknown one, I think, in the sense that she's an Australian designer who's been around for a while, but I don't know how well known she is outside of Australia. So I thought it would be really lovely to showcase her along with the other 2 that have been my favourite designers for quite some time, and I've stitched a bit of, not a lot, but I've stitched some of them. So I'm going to have to turn my page over so that I don't get this wrong, so bear with me. Okay, so my first designer that I'm going to showcase is a very well-known designer, Lizzie Kate. So Lizzie Kate, I think most people would know Lizzie Kate, and she has been around for a while. So I did have a quick look on her blog. I've followed Linda's blog for quite some time. She's had a blog out probably 8-9 years, I think, where she's always showcased the new up-and-coming designs that she's had or whatever. So I thought I'd pop over to her blog and her website and got a little bit of information about her. And essentially Lizzie Kate began in 1996. So Linda at the time was looking for something new. She was bored with what she was doing as her job and looking for a bit of a creative outlet. So she decided that she would try and do something with her hobby of stitching, and also she had a past experience as a graphic designer before she had kids. At the time she was 40 when she started Lizzie Kate. In the years that they've been doing, or did she say 22 years of designing, she's produced 190 chart packs, 170 flippets, 134 snippets, 59 boxer kits, 95 kits, and numerous magazine type designs, free designs that are on her website, etc, etc. Now, I think most people know how the name came about, and so I did just have a quick look to see it because I thought I remembered that it was named after her 2 daughters, and I was right. So she basically designed, the name came from her daughters' middle names, which were Elizabeth and Lizzie, or Kathleen Kate. So essentially that became Lizzie Kate. The logo, surprisingly, I thought she must have designed it and had it all professionally done, but no, she actually just did a rough sketch of it when she had to go to market, the first time she ever went to market, and that was it. It was a quick rough sketch, and as we all love our Lizzie Kate logo, it's stayed the same. I was quite upset when she, well, not upset, but you know, it was disappointing when they said they were retiring, and I was thinking, oh no, no more Lizzie Kate. But at the time they did go into a partnership with 123 Stitch, which means that they have now been able to re-release some of the older charts that have been essentially out of print for a while. And I have seen quite a few of those stand-ups come out now. So obviously, you know, you'll be able to start getting them through 123 Stitch, and they're still available through LNSs. When I first heard that they were retiring, went on a bit of a binge and went and bought some that I've been wanting for a while in case they went OOP. But now that, of course, we heard that there's no rush, I sort of didn't worry about buying any more. I'll just buy them now as they come out. What else can I tell you about? So, how did I first hear about Lizzie Kate? So, I, as I mentioned, started stitching a long time ago, but in the days when I first started stitching, I didn't know anything about any of these designers. This was back in the 80s. In the 90s, I didn't know anything about any of these designers either. The only time I found out about some of these designers was when I started blogging in the early 2000s, and all of a sudden these designers started appearing on the blogs that I was visiting through the US and UK blogs. And the first Lizzie Kate designs I actually got after drooling on people's blogs and wishing that I could get hold of these charts, because this was before online shopping was a big thing as well. So I remember entering a couple of giveaways on 2 blogs and happened to win both of them that particular year. So this was back in 2011. One of the charts that I won at the time, and I do have it here, was this one. So this was the first Lizzie Kate that I received. This came from our wonderful Kay at Kay Stitching when she had a blog. And she sent me, as part of the giveaway, the chart, the fabric and the threads to stitch them. So I did actually stitch 2 out of these, and I have them hiding here. I haven't FFO'd these ones. So this was, ooh, what if I got stuck on a bit of fluff? So this was the Joyous Noel, and the other one is Feeling Festive. So I stitched them. I had these sitting, or the charts sitting in my stash for about 4 years before I actually stitched them, and I finally got around to stitching them. But they're, of course, sitting in the under the bed box, and I think where am I putting these things? Over here. Sitting in the under the bed box and haven't been FFO'd. So the other one I've got, what did I do with them? So the other ones I won at the same time came from another blogger, and they were 2 limited edition kits. So there was this limited edition, and then there was this one. And this all came with the scissors, which are sitting still in the bag, because I haven't done anything with that one, but I have done something with that one, so I'll tell you what I've done. So this is this one. So this is autumn, and at some point I will turn it into a flat fold. This was the fabric that came in with it, and it was a Jaslyn from memory, but I have got notes, so what I'll do when I go to the edit page, I'll just stick some little notes in the bottom and tell you what that fabric was. So this was stitched all in DMC, and the other one I prepared for you just recently. So I decided I better make sure I've got something finished, some FFO thing to show, and I quickly finished this one up the other day. Again, the fabric came in the kit, but I stitched it all in DMC. So I was actually quite pleased with that, and I've just put it back with some orange and greyish sort of fabric. That only took me all day to do, which is why I didn't end up doing, I was going to do autumn as well, but I didn't end up doing autumn because it took all day just to do that. So the other ones that I have stitched from Lizzie Kate, for viewers of my video, you would have seen 2 of these recently, but this one you won't have seen. I'll actually get this out. So this one is a magazine. This came out of the Just Cross Stitch. I think it was a Halloween issue 2013, but I'll put notes down the bottom. And I just stitched that on a scrap of purple fabric. All with DMC, and I seem to recall that from memory that I actually did change the colours to suit what I had in my stash. Another one I finished recently was the Snow Story series, which is these ones here. And I did stitch them as per the back. So one of the things that Lizzie Kate does, if she does do these types of groups of charts, and if they are stitched together, sometimes they'll have a border. She'll have a free border which she puts on her actual website, and you can just go down and download it, and you'll have it, so if there's anything extra on it. So this one I finished a little while ago. In fact, I finished off this year after starting it quite some time ago. So this is now, I'll bring it in closer because you can't actually see the white too much from a distance. And there we go. It's actually a bit hard to see it But it was actually, it took me ages to stitch this in the end. But they're cute. Absolutely cute. This was stitched on a fabric from Stitches and Spice, which was an Australian fabric dye that no longer dyes, but unfortunately I can't get there anymore. What's the next one I want to show you? Oh, so the next one is the Jingles series. So there's quite a few of these in this series. I at first thought I was going to just stitch them all singular, but then a group of blogging friends back in 2015, I think, decided, or it might have been earlier than that, decided to put it all together and stitch it like this. It's a stitch along. So I joined them. They finished theirs. I didn't. I think I finished mine. Did I finish mine earlier this year or late last year? But mine is now finished as well. Again, you can get the layout from Lizzie Kate's website to stitch them. And this is my Jingles. All done eventually. Took a while, but it is done. This was also stitched on a Stitches and Spice fabric called Sugarcane Crunch, and it took a little bit of time. So all of the little motifs in the middle, like this, are all part of what Lizzie Kate adds into the border designs to make them fit in between, so like that one and stuff. But this is one I have to put into a wall hanging at some point when I get around to doing it. Absolutely loved it in the end. All week's dye work, so I stitched that in all of the call for weeks. Then the last one that series of Lizzie Kate's that I've done was the Boo Club. So the Boo Club, I decided to again stitch it as per the model stitch, but I did something quite strange for me. Well, actually not. I put it on gorgeous purple and green fabric. This fabric comes from Colour Cascade Fabrics here in Perth, and I thought it looked absolutely wonderful on something very spooky colouring like this, and it turned out awesome. Again, all stitched in the call for threads. This was, I think, did I start this last year? I started this, pretty sure it was last year I started this for a sale on one of the blogs. Pretty sure it was last year. Or was it the year before? Time goes by so quick. But I did finish this earlier this year and finally got that done. Now, because I'm doing a Lizzie Kate showcase, I decided I better have a Lizzie Kate whip on the go. So I started a new one. I'll just turn it and put it on the board so I can show you. So I have started Hocus Pocus. So I started that the other day, and I'm stitching mine on PTP Kermit 28 count opal Lagana. It's still similar. I think this one is, it was called Weeks Dye Works, but so I had Kermit and I thought I would stitch it on that. Now I am doing a mixture of colours. I didn't have all of the different colours, so some of the DMC I had, but not the actual weeks. So I had Carrot, but I've swapped out a couple of them. So Terracotta, I'm actually using Tomato, which was in Boo Club. For the Squash, I'm going to use Ohio Lemon Pie, which was also in Boo Club. And I'm using Purple Majesty, which was also in Boo Club. So I've swapped out those ones. So I'm using the Boo Club colours in that one. And I had a colour in cotton, which came, I think it came from my Annie's free gift when I signed up for P2P fabric of the month this year. So I've decided to put that in for the creamy coloured one, and it's lovely to stitch with, absolutely gorgeous. So that was my new start for the video. I have a book full of Lizzie Kate, absolute heaps of Lizzie Kates in here. One day I will stitch them all. But, oh, and I forgot to tell you about one other one that I've done. Goodness me, how did I forget this? I have done this one as well. Now, I don't have this one here to show you, so what I will do is I'll put a picture in somewhere in here. I stitched this one for my sister when her Rosie dog died. So when Rosie was a little bit too old, and unfortunately it was the end of her days. So I stitched this and made it into sort of like a cork board, and put Rosie's picture down the bottom and gave that to them. So you would have seen a picture of that. So they are all the ones of the Lizzie Kates that I've stitched, and there's plenty more to go. If you don't know Lizzie Kate, get in there and do some Lizzie Kate, because guess what? She's awesome. I do find that there is a lot of different designs. She has, her style's changed obviously over the years as well, and it's absolutely awesome, some of the stuff that she's got. I've got some old ones of hers and some of the newer ones, and they just cover a wide variety of topics. Obviously lots of snowmen and lots of animals and things, but really, really lovely designs. And she's got some, she's had saying series and all sorts of things. She has little snippets, she has big ones to do. Awesome. So that's Lizzie Kate. So who's the one designer number 2? Designer number 2 is Jody Rice from Satsuma Street. So with Jody Rice, I decided that I would showcase her, as I absolutely love the bright colours that she uses. So Jody is now a floss tuber. So if you haven't seen her floss tube, I encourage you to go and have a look. She's done some awesome stuff on her floss tube and shows some really great stuff. She basically started designing a number of years ago. Did I see when she did it? Early 2013 was when she opened her Etsy store. But she started designing when she couldn't find designs that she wanted to stitch. So as is often the case, what's the saying? Invention is the mother, no, necessity is the mother of invention. So if you think, there's a couple of designers around that have probably said the same thing. They couldn't find what they wanted, so they've designed it themselves, and then the rest is history. So Jody she's apparently got a degree in costume design and animation, and her background is in textile and graphic arts. So that gave her a completely different perspective on the art of cross stitch. She has been a pattern drafter. She's done illustration. She's done technical writing for sewing and craft books and magazines. And she said that she's inspired by designers like Mary Claire, Charlie Harper, and Alexander Garrard. Her designs combine colour and shape, but they're still whimsical, which is what I love about them. They are really whimsical sort of designs, and the colours are just so bright and cheery. So Jody first started showing her, or putting her designs as an instant download in Etsy shop in 2013. I have actually got some designs that were in the magazines, in the UK magazines. She was showcased in there a couple of times, so a couple of designs were in there. And basically since 2016, her designs have been available anywhere through the different needlework stores and websites. Jody said her goal is to make cross stitch for a happy world. So yeah, and I think that she's done that. She's certainly, when you stitch her designs, they're happy designs to stitch. The first one that I stitched was or started stitching was Autumn Bird. Now I saw that on a floss tube, and it was funny because I had it sitting in my stash and didn't even realise I had it, but I saw it on a FlossTubers channel a couple of years ago. There's a couple of FlossTubers now who've stitched it, and I remember thinking, oh, I have to go and buy that. And then I thought, oh, I've got some of the Jody's designs in my stash. I'll go and have a look. And I had Autumn Bird in my stash from the magazine. So I started stitching that, and I finished that earlier this year. So this is Autumn Bird. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to put it into a pillow finish, which is why I haven't done anything with it yet. But I just love the blocks of colour. It's just gorgeous. And quite easy to stitch. Once you get into it, it's just keep stitching. One of the other things that I had when I found in my stash was a whole lot of little tiny ornaments that were in one of the magazines. So I'm going to stitch them all eventually, but I have stitched one, and that's this one. So I haven't finished it because I want to wait until I've stitched them all, and then when I've stitched them all, I'll be able to sort of work out how I want to finish them. The other design that I have stitched recently is Dog Park, and I finished that only last month, I think, or the month before, August, I think I finished it from memory. And this is Dog Park. So he is all finished. He was awesome. Probably the only thing that really gave me any sort of hassle was doing all this sort of type of backstitch. I really did have to concentrate on that because I'd find that I'd be stitching away and go, too far, back again. So there's a bit of frogging in that, but ultimately it looks awesome when it's all finished. So this is stitched on a hand dyed by Stephanie fabric, Caramel Macchiato, and it was a Monaco from memory, but I'll put it down the bottom and let you know. Now I also do have a couple of others of Jody's designs. I have the Garden Cat. I have Pretty Little Berlin. I got that one because my stepson lives in Berlin, so I thought at some point I would stitch that and send that to them. And out of the magazine is she did a series of the little cities, so I have those ones to stitch at some point. But in true fashion for what I am doing with the FlossTube collaboration, I did make a new start. I thought I'd better do the right thing and make a new start so I can show you. This one's been in my stash for ages and I finally started him. So this is Halloween Cat. I have been meaning to start him for some time. And given it is October and I'm sort of doing dark October stitching, perfect time to start him. So this is where we have got with our Halloween Cat. Not very far. Just a body. And that's just plain black, DMC. So all of Jody's designs are GMC, so they're nice and easy to kit up and just get going. And her designs are not that expensive either. I am stitching this one on a Jody Designs fabric called Warlock, and it's a 28 count Opal Brittany. What else do I have to say about Jody? I think that's all I had to say about Jody. Yes. That is all I had to say about Jody. Okay. Now, number 3. Number 3 is an Australian designer who I don't think many people will know much about. She's been around for a while now, and I've got designs that I bought a number of years ago from this lady through her website. She has a Facebook page and she has a website. So I will link both of those below, as I would encourage you to go and see Carol's designs. So this lady is Carrol Nielsen. So I do hope I haven't butchered your last name, Carol. I think it's pronounced Nielsen. I sent an email to Carol because I thought this would be the best way to do this, is to get in her words pretty much what and why she started designing. And I did know a little bit about this, but I just thought I'd like to make contact with her and let her know what I was doing and do it this way. So I first remember seeing Carrol's designs in the 90s in one of the Australian cross-stitch magazines, which was called Jill Oxton's Cross Stitch. It then went on to become Jill Oxton Cross Stitch and Beading, but in the days when I was collecting it, it was Jill Oxton Cross Stitch. And I wish I still had those magazines because they had some awesome Aussie designs in, but unfortunately I misplaced them all many years ago during a house move. And I know you can get back issues, they're still around, and you can see them around the place. And I think they were still being published up until a couple of years ago as well. So I did contact Carrol and got an email back from her, and I'll tell you a little bit about her. And so Carrol said that she's had been a cross stitcher from a very young age, and her father used to tell her stories about girls who stitched in Denmark, and Denmark is her family history. So because of the stories that her dad used to tell her, and with craft being so popular in Denmark, it made her sort of want to do something. And she was the first Australian in her family, so she thought, well, you know, I'll try this as well. And she said she was about 7 or 8 when she actually started cross stitching, but she'd before that had been doing some of the kids' sort of tapestries. She started designing at 13, but at the time it was only for herself. And she said that the main reason was there wasn't a lot of designs around at that time, so she used to get graph paper and sort of basically chart out something to stitch. She said that she used to pore through the magazines from Denmark and pretty much stitched everything in those magazines. So I sort of get that, because I remember sort of getting hold of anything and sort of you would want to stitch it because that was all you had to stitch. She did say that later on down the track she went on to start designing the Australian Australian Christmas motifs, because again there wasn't anything around that was truly Aussie, and she stitched them up and sent them back home to the family in Denmark as gifts. She also offered some of her designs to Jill Oxton, and Jill published them in the magazine, which was awesome. So as I mentioned, it was Jules magazine was around in the 1990s when it first came out. Carrol said she was also published in the Handmade magazine, and then she decided that she would try and sell direct to the public. Because basically she just had so many different ideas, and a lot of the magazines only wanted seasonal sort of designs. Semco were sponsoring her also at a time, as they said that they thought that she had a unique niche in the designing community, and she said that was a huge encouragement to her to have someone like Semco sponsoring her essentially, or sort of, you know, saying that her designs were unique. So she also went on to say one of the reasons she started doing the Christmas designs of Aussie animals or Aussie nature is because she didn't want to stitch snowmen for Christmas, because that isn't what Australia, we don't have snow in Christmas time. We have 40 to 45 degree heat in some places at Christmas time, so there's no snow. So it is hard to sort of equate the traditional Christmas type of designs with what we here in Australia actually have. She also said that her overseas family were very interested in the Australian animals, and I know there's a lot of stitchers around that sort of are interested in Australian animals. We have some pretty unique animals here. So I did stitch, the very first design I stitched of Carrol's was for a round robin that I did in 2010. Now it was an Australian round robin, and I can't remember why I chose the one I did. I think it was the person who had done it obviously wanted, it was a Christmas round robin, and I think she was doing animals or something, and I decided to do this particular design. Now I obviously don't have this to show you, but I have got the design, so if you bear with me for a second, I will show you what I stitched. So I stitched this gorgeous little wombat. So he's got a little Christmas. I'll put in a pic, because I did go back onto my blog and I found a pic of what it looked like when I stitched it. So I'll pop that up and you'll see that. So that was my first one that I did in 2010. Then I used Carrol's designs for two overseas blogging friends who had babies, and I decided to stitch something and send to them. But I didn't do the full birth samplers. So what I did is, I should have pulled these up first, shouldn't I? Where is it? It is here. That's one, and where's the other one? And that's the other one, right. So, what I did is, I had this gorgeous design here, and I just chose one motif. So I'll put a picture up and I'll show you what I sent to Anne in Canada when her little boy was born. And I just basically framed that. I painted the frame to sort of suit the colour of the fabric, and the fabric I used was one of the Stitches and Spice fabrics, so sort of was Aussie design, Aussie fabric. Then I had another friend, a Portuguese friend who had a baby, and I decided to do the same thing. So I picked this design and I stitched that little motif there, and you'll see a picture up here of what that looked like. I turned that one into a flat fold. That was the first ever flat fold I'd ever done, so I was really quite impressed with myself for doing that. So they were the three that I have stitched, and then I have a whole bunch of Carrol's designs which have been sitting and languishing in my stash for quite some time. So I thought I'd just show you a quick snapshot of them. So you'll see, if you go to her webpage and her Facebook group, you will see these, but these are so cute. They are little cuties. So as you can see, they're Aussie animals, which are turned into Christmas ideas. But she does have others. She doesn't just do Christmas, she does do other sorts of things. But the koalas are pretty much her gorgeous trademark. I love them. Where's another little cutie? There's another little cutie here. So she has done a bear, which is obviously not an Aussie bear, but she has got that. She has got a Halloween one. So that's a Halloween one that she's got. And then she did, what did I find? She did, we had some really bad floods in Queensland a few years ago, and she did a chart which she sold and raised money towards the floods. So I obviously bought that. Now, I'm going to just pop these on the floor so they get out of my way. In true form of this video, I made a start on something for the video. So I chose this Halloween design to stitch on. So as you saw, I had another one, but I decided I would stitch on this one. I think he's so cute. Absolutely cute. So last night I started this, and let me make sure I get this around the right way. And this is as far as I got last night. So just stitching that centre bit of orange. This is stitched on a Zephyrus from Under the Sea Fabrics. So it's going to hopefully look quite cute. So that is my three designers. So as I said, I will link Carrol's website and Facebook page down the bottom underneath the list of the FlossTubers who are taking part in the collaboration. I will also put in Jody's Etsy shop and website, and the same thing with Lizzie Kate. But as with Lizzie Kate, you can probably just jump onto 123 Stitch and buy them all. And the light has just changed in here. What else was I going to say? I think that's it. Hopefully I've not forgotten anything, even though I've had notes. As with all notes, they're sort of like don't get looked at half the time. Hopefully I've remembered everything. I do hope that you did enjoy my little trip around the designers that I enjoy stitching. They are all different, but all still have similar sort of things that, you know, I don't know what makes me like them. I just enjoy them. I think that a lot of them are simple to stitch, but at the same time they look good when they're finished off. They're bright, they're cheery. So I think that's probably one of the main things about all of those designers. There are going to be these videos popping up, I think, all over the FlossTube community over the next 24 hours. They are due to be published for the 6th of October. I'm recording mine on the 6th of October, and I will go away now and edit it and get this up for you. So hopefully you'll see this in the next 12 hours or so by the time I do my editing and get it uploaded. I would just like to say thank you again to Shirl for letting me be a part of this, and I hope that I haven't let the side down. I hope that this video has been enjoyable for you, and that you'll come back again hopefully and see me for my update in the next couple of days. So I'll just quickly round out by telling you who else is taking part. So there's Christi Javagirl Stitches, Cindy's Cross Stitch, Ingeborg from Stitch to Far, Stitching Jules, Lorraine Rags to Riches USA, Mel Patchy Pony Stitcher, Svannah M, Sharon Magnolia Nana, and of course Shirl Tranquil Stitches is the host. So please use the links below and drop in and say hello to everybody and see what designers they're showcasing. I'm sure they're all going to be awesome videos, and I may even find a new designer that I haven't tried yet, and I'm looking forward to going and seeing all of those. I will, as I mentioned, be doing an update video in the next, if not this afternoon, then certainly in the next day or two, which I'll get up, which will showcase what I've stitched for September, and you've seen some of what I've started for October, for Dark October, but I'll showcase those over the next day or two. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and commenting. I hope you've enjoyed the FlossTube collaboration, and thank again, Shirl, for letting me be part of this. It's been fun, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. See you later. Bye.